There are a number of movies in this countdown that deal with something I call dark romance or twisted love. We've already covered Custom and Alma and the Wolf, and there's going to be another pick coming up later. This is M.O. Miller Fright's Best in Horror Countdown 2024 through 2025. At number 14 is Together. It was released on July 30th, 2025, and is available on demand from Studio Neon. It's directed and written by Michael Shanks. A couple, Tim, played by Dave Franco, and Millie, played by Allison Brie, move from the big city to a small rural area. While venturing out in the nearby forest trails near their new home, they fall into a fissure in the woods during a rainstorm. While they're trapped in the underground cave system, they find the relics of an old school underground. After a soggy night, the couple eventually find their way out and make it home, but soon find themselves physically drawn to one another. Once in contact, their bodies begin to merge with one another, forcing them to deal with this physical problem as well as lingering issues the couple have towards one another. I want to address the elephant in the abode right away. There's a rumor that this concept was stolen from a low-budget movie made a few years ago. I have no idea who thought of what first, and honestly, that's stuff for legal teams to figure out, not reviewers. I'm just here to look at the movie at hand and try not to let the controversy affect my viewpoint. So don't expect a rage-fueled review of Together, as I have no skin in the game and honestly could care less about two films made focusing on similar topics. That said, Together is a wonderfully rich film, taking a highly problematic relationship between two people and accentuating the differences in the most horrifying of ways. Dave Franco and Allison Brie are also married in real life, so I'm sure this helps in how convincing this couple is on screen in both the way that they click with one another and how they bravely address these personal issues their two characters experience. Above all, this is a film about a relationship falling apart, challenged with a problem that is trying to keep them together. Sometimes that tie this couple share are kids or property. In this case, it's a curse that wants to merge them together into one being. The way this film presents the challenges these two very different people have with one another is realized well in Together. So much so that it feels impossible for the two to fix this very broken relationship, and one might assume that these two married actors are hashing out some of their own personal issues on screen. Who knows? I don't, but their performances feel very fleshed out. I usually have a strong dislike for Dave Franco. I'm not sure why. He kind of seems like a squirrely little brother hanging around that you just can't shake. For me, much like Pete Davidson, Franco just has such a punchable face. That said, I disliked him a little bit less in this role. He does do a good job as the dim and unfocused but well-meaning boyfriend who just can't find the time to grow up. Allison Brie is equally charming as Millie, and while we understand her perspective and frustrations with Tim, there are times when it seems like she's being overbearing and cold. It really says a lot about the performances if they show good and bad traits yet still feel relatable, and both Franco and Brie do that in Together. Now, the further into the film one gets, the more holes in the plot become apparent. If Tim and Millie spent the night in the cave, why didn't they see the other couple who somehow show up in the cave during the final moments of the film? Why is no one in the town letting this new couple know about the property's history? And there is a late-in-the-game reveal that I called from a mile away, and I think you will too. The effects are top-notch. Seeing the way Brie and Franco schmeld together and then tear each other apart is both heinous and hilarious. This is a very serious movie with dire consequences, but the down-to-earth way Franco and Brie deal with this urge to merge with each other definitely has a dark comedic edge. Things get extreme once the two realize there is something definitely wrong with them, but don't know how to fix it. The final moments are some of the most bizarre and memorable body horror I've seen since last year's The Substance. I was surprised how much I liked this little film about a couple with big issues. Like many good horror films, Together is steeped in rich metaphor, speaking volumes about dependent relationships and commitment phobia, hurdles many couples can relate to. It just slathers the whole theme with fleshy ooze and over-the-top gore. Together will definitely be one you talk about with your significant other afterwards. I recommend it. See it with the one you love, or don't. Coming up next is another tale of strange love. Worth noting is Cannibal MUKBANG. It was released on March 25th, 2025, and streaming on Tubi from Melty Media and WellGo USA. It's directed and written by Aimee Kuge. A down-on-his-luck schlub named Mark, played by Nate Wise, meets an eccentric fireball named Ash, played by April Consalo, in a 7-Eleven, and is immediately smitten with the gal. Ash seems interested back and gives him her number. Soon, a romance blossoms, and Mark thinks everything is hunky-dory. But soon, he understands that Ash has a rather complex job. She's a mukbanger, which I've heard of, but never really seen in action. Basically, Ash films herself from the lips down, eating a large amount of food for the pleasure of her online followers. Strange? You betcha. But Ash has deeper issues as she uses this online presence to lure in real freaks who have been guilty of assault, abuse, and murder, yet have escaped prosecution for one reason or another. Once trapped in Ash's web, the Johns find out another deep, dark secret about Ash. She's a cannibal vigilante. Now that Mark knows about Ash's dark hobby, he must either accept it, break things off, or worst case scenario, become next on the menu. Much like Together, though there are some horrifying things going on in Cannibal MUKBANG, it also has equal parts sweetness and a truly skewed understanding of what love is. Peel away all of the human eating and vigilantism, and Cannibal MUKBANG is about taking a chance to be in a relationship with someone, even if that person may not be the best thing for you. It's a story that oozes with disgusting scenes, but I found myself entranced by this tender relationship between these two oddballs. I would liken this film to such cult classics as Harold and Maude, or Benny and June, or even Lost in Translation, where two mismatched people find some way to connect and fall in love. Now, I do have a cold black heart, but there were times in this movie where that heart melted a bit. It's a sweet little movie. Then again, Ash is a girl with issues, deep dark issues. I'm sure I'm not the only one who has been in a relationship where they don't know how they found themselves there with a person who is definitely bad news. Still, being the man that I am, I must admit, crazy is hot sometimes. Sure, later you pay for that crazy, but in the moment, one can get caught up in the crazy and think you're having the time of your life. That's where we find Ash and Mark as they meet and become enmeshed with one another. Mark is a lonesome guy who seems to have had a bad breakup that's left him broken and lacking confidence. And when he meets Ash, he dives right in, not realizing that there may be issues there for the reason why this eccentric hottie is the way she is. This movie does a good job of capturing the whirlwind of feelings one gets when they meet someone new and the relationship feels full of potential. Through Mark's eyes, he can't believe Ash is even acknowledging his existence. Of course, it's because he puts Ash up on a pedestal like this that may spell doom for the relationship. His lack of confidence may be charming at first, but a woman wants a partner, not a worshiper. If there is a flaw in Cannibal MUKBANG, it is that Mark is portrayed as such an unbelievable schlub. I have no shame. I'll admit it. I've been this Mark in the past. Totally smitten with a gal and going down a dark path, throwing care to the wind. The results are always bad, but we've already established that crazy is hot. But Nate Wise does such a convincing job as the pushover Mark that it makes you wonder what Ash sees in him too. He lacks personality, he basically has no opinion or say in anything in the relationship. And while this character does exist in real life, it doesn't make for a likable protagonist or someone fun to follow. So while Wise plays the pushover well, it's hard to invest in him. Ash is far from perfect too. She never really does give a good reason as to why she's interested in Mark, and his puppy dog following of her only suggests that she likes being put up on a pedestal. And despite the cannibalism and the vigilantism, that's not a really likable trait either. So Cannibal MUKBANG becomes a car crash of a movie where you know this relationship is headed off a cliff, but can't help but watch and hope that somehow, some way, things might work out for these two weirdos. And I won't say if my hopes were answered, but from the beginning to end, there is this feeling of dread hanging in the air, threatening to drop. In many ways, this is a vampire-like story, where someone is turned into a vampire and must learn the ropes in this new role. I like the way cannibalism is treated almost as a supernatural addiction that awakens a hunger inside that, once human flesh is tasted, nothing but that same kind of flesh can satisfy. Cannibal Mukbang is a low-budget horror, heavy on the quirky romance, but you better believe things get goppy as Mark and Ash feed each other human parts and then having sex. It romanticizes the gore, not unlike the cult gross-out movie Necromantic. All of that blood and fluids have got to get sticky. The practical effects used and the way the fluids are splattered and smeared around really gives Cannibal Mukbang a tactile feel of grossness. So while Mark's character is too much of a pushover, Cannibal Mukbang was a sweet little gore fest that I found myself deeply endeared with. If you're willing to open your heart and have a cast iron stomach, I recommend you fall in love with Cannibal Mukbang. With my computer issues fixed, expect another post later today with the next pick in this horror countdown. As always, feel free to agree, disagree, or how about you play along at home and give me your own picks for your own favorite movies of the year. It's October, so let's talk horror. Come back tomorrow for the next level in the Best in Horror countdown. Be sure to hit all of those pertinent bells and whistles down below, and you'll never miss a post. Happy Halloween, folks.